Ciao, sono Fabrizio Righi, sono italiano di Roma. Sono venuto qui a Singapore 10 anni fa per stare con mia moglie, sono sposato con lei e mi piace Singapore, adoro Singapore.
Ciao a tutti, mi chiamo Ifi, sono di Spinea, un piccolo paesino in provincia di Venezia e ora vivo a Singapore da 7 anni.
When I arrived in Singapore, I thought this is a perfect country because everything is working. Here everything is very fast, very technological, very modern. Especially transport, MRT, buses was working perfectly. Also Rome, last time I was there, I waited for a bus for more than 1 hour. Basically, you must be more practical in life, and maybe we are not so practical, we are more romantic, artistic, but be practical is important in life.
Fabrizio and his wife live in an HDB flat in Bukit Panjang. He enjoys his neighborhood and often eats at the coffee shop near his flat.
I like to go to Kopitiam, take my breakfast with the coffee, the kopi. Singapore is a very foodie community. These are something also in common with Italy. People like to eat. I am from Rome, Italian. My house is very close to St. Peter's. So when I was a child, I always liked to see tourists everywhere speaking different languages. I was always fascinated about that.
But he didn't join the tourism industry as an adult. Instead, he did crisis management for a non-profit organization. His role required him to travel to countries in conflict or those hit by natural disasters. Towards the end of 2007, Fabrizio made a stopover in Singapore en route to Australia for a holiday. While sightseeing, he got to meet Joanne. It was love at first sight, and he gave up his plan to visit Australia.
The Botanic Gardens is the place where I met Joanne, not exactly here, but almost in front of the gates. It's so beautiful, like the same plants.
After they met, the two had a long-distance relationship for about 3 years. They tied the knot in 2011.
And that is a coconut tree. 结婚过后，我有在意大利住过一段时间，可是我觉得还是不怎么适应那里的文化，还有那里的生活方式。譬如我们在用餐的时候，他们会一直在那里交流，而我觉得已经交流了差不多半个小时，食物都冷了，所以我觉得很难适应那种生活方式，所以我觉得这也是一种文化的差异啊。过了一段时期，他终于觉得他最好是他过来新加坡会比较适合，因为他懂得英文，所以他觉得他会比较容易适应。I don't see this restaurant. 他千里迢迢从意大利罗马来到新加坡，我感觉上是觉得很感动。
So when my wife came to Italy, she cannot name my dogs, she cannot speak Italian, she gets completely cold during winter time. So the best way was for me to come here in Singapore to adapt better. So I left everything to come here in Singapore for her.
Appreciate it.
I know. I was born in Italy, in Venice, actually in Mirano, it's a small town in Venice province. My family are Nigerian, so they moved to Italy in the early 80s.
Ifi's parents are still working in Italy. Her father is an architect. Her mother works with young immigrants. Ifi grew up under the influence of both Italian and Nigerian cultures. 7 years ago, it was by chance that Ifi and her husband, Max, came to Singapore.
I finished my PhD in human molecular genetics in Italy, and I was looking for a postdoc. And it happened that a friend of ours was already living here in Singapore, so I was sending different CVs around the world looking for a place where to continue my career in cancer research. So I found a few amazing labs, and then after a month, I got an offer to come here. So we decided to move to Singapore, and it was basically a blind date because we never been to Asia before, and we just got one-way ticket. So it was a pretty exciting thing to do at that time.
Back then, Max's employment contract had also ended. So he decided to go job hunting in Singapore with Ife.
I had no expectations and I had a very open mind, and I'd never been to Asia before, so for me it was like a blank sheet. And when you have no expectations, it's actually better and easier. And then we came here, and I have to say that it exceeded the
Beyond expectations.
yeah, beyond the expectations that we had for sure.
我们的文化差距很大，有时出去跟邻居打招呼的时候，邻居会以那种异议的眼光来看他，觉得有点生疏。我们渐渐建立那个关系，所以现在我们有时出去的时候，邻居也会跟他打招呼。他大概花了2年的时间融入整个社会。
Singaporean culture and Italian culture are quite different. The first feeling I had when I came here in Singapore was I'm not only in another continent, but I'm in another planet, culturally speaking. We come from the so-called old continent, and this really means a lot because we are stuck to traditions and sometimes to old things that might not be useful.
That's the place that we did our Chingay last year. 我看我们2个人的差异是在，他是一个很外向，他很有 think out of the box， 很 creative 的一个人。我就是比较内向，我做东西就是规规矩矩，我喜欢东西整整齐齐的。不过他就是那种东西越乱是越好，不过他是乱中有序。我觉得简单就是美，对他来讲，东西越多越好。所以我们这方面是有一点差距，不过也就是彼此的不同才会吸引对方。
In her first 5 years in Singapore, Ife moved 3 times. It was not until she discovered Tiong Bahru 3 years ago and fell in love with the neighborhood that she decided to stay put.
Hello, Uncle. Can I have a copy of croissant? We realized how beautiful was Tiong Bahru. Not only because it's closer to work, but there's a vibe that we couldn't find in any other neighborhood we lived. The fact that you have a very nice blend between local and expat communities. You can go to the market and then it's really local. You can have local food. And also the architecture is quite different from any other neighborhood. The fact that the buildings are low-rise and then there's the history behind. So I found this neighborhood that has a very big character, and that's why we really love Tiong Bahru. And yeah, we are not planning to change neighborhood like we did before every 2 years. I would like to buy flowers.
Ife likes to visit Tiong Bahru Market to look at the flower shop, buy daily necessities, and interact with the locals.
What really surprised me when I came to Singapore was the fact that you can be in all the country in Asia in the same place every day, in different country every day, because you can eat Vietnamese tonight, and tomorrow you can eat Thailand, and then you can be in India the next day. And it's so cool. It's so cool that I really like it. The food culture that I experience here is amazing. I remember when I arrived, I was like, well, I was going to have lunch at the food court. I was like, why people put a tissue paper or umbrella on their seats? I mean, what is that? Why is that? And now I'm realizing that I'm doing the same. So that's a habit that I picked. I mean, in Italy, we usually don't do.
When Fabrizio first arrived here, he had wanted a job like his last position as an emergency manager in Europe. But there was no similar position available. In the end, he became a chef.
After a while, I realized that I could work as a chef, which I did when I was younger, and I started working as a chef. But I also wanted always to promote Italian culture, so I got all the certificates with the Ministry of Education and others, and I opened my own company promoting Italy, cuisine, language and cultural events.
Fabrizio often organizes events promoting Italian culture for his Singaporean friends.
Today we are cooking pasta. One of the characteristics of Italian cuisine is the ingredient. So the chef is not as important as the ingredient. You can have a very good chef, but the ingredient is not good, and therefore the flavor is not that nice. This is why we are very, very careful to our products.
According to Fabrizio, Italians are very passionate about cooking. The main chef in a traditional Italian family is the grandmother, and she would instill a love for cooking in her grandchildren.
When I was 5, I was always admiring my grandmother cooking in her kitchen. I remember she always took me close to the stove, and then she started teaching me. So she told me and she taught me a lot of cuisine techniques.
说有些什么活动，他也是有邀请我一起参与。他真的是很想促进，就是意大利文化在新加坡的发展，对，做得很好。
I think it's important to promote Italian culture in Singapore, first of all, because Singapore is a very open country. So I thought, we Italians are a very small community, but we can still give something in terms of arts.
He worked with the People's Association and National Library Board to organize cooking and language classes to promote Italian culture. He has a gift for teaching and cooking and is also conversant in many languages.
La mia lingua madre, English, the language I use mostly. Je parle français. Ich studierte Deutsch. He studiado también español porque me gustaba mucho. Un kampunuar shumviet ne Shqipëri e bashkëpunimin. Takođe ja uradio sam u Srbiji, u Beogradu, tri godina. Ja ušao sam, učim po polsku, tekše. So govorim по-русски чуть-чуть. And furthermore, some more, I must think, because at the end I studied so many.
Singapore may be a melting pot of cultures, but for Ife, who has lived here for several years, she discovered that there are some cultures which have been overlooked.
I found that African culture was missing, and I realized that I couldn't find any place where I could buy fabrics or clothes made with African fabrics. And so I decided to do some clothes for myself. This was 3 years ago. I was still doing my postdoc, cancer research. And so at that time I was basically a scientist by day and then a designer by night.
Her orders kept growing. So after she completed her dissertation 18 months ago, Ife decided to take a break from research work to focus on her business.
more time.
I take inspiration from my journey, my life basically. So I use African fabrics, which are coming from my heritage, Nigerian heritage, and then I twist all my design with in an Italian way, because I was born and raised in Italy. Well, you know that Italy is well known for fashion, right? I mean, if you go to Milan, it's the capital of fashion. And what I incorporate in the detail, in my designs is the flawless attention to details, made with love.
To interest Singaporeans in African culture, Ify designs colourful clothing that reflect the exuberance of Africa.
Unfortunately, not so many people are aware of the African culture. Africa is not one region. There are so many countries, and each of them has their own characteristic food, music, way of living, and fashion as well. Singaporeans, and then also people that are living here that are quite open-minded, so they are super curious, and I can see that I am attracting culturally curious people.
So yeah, we can start with either one of the two.
1, 2, 3.
I think was one of the first to start 推广非洲文化。他也是 I think the first to make all the girls start understanding how to wear the prints.
One more time.
我也觉得新加坡人很蛮会接受非洲文化。
Charmaine met Ify 6 years ago and realized that they have many common interests. Naturally, their friendship grew.
我们差不多每个星期五或者星期六会 hang out， 所以可能有时来这边跟他 hang out， 或者我们会去朋友的家煮东西、吃饭、喝酒。对对。
Fabrizio also dabbles in fashion design. In fact, he designed the costumes for the Italian contingent at the Chingay Parade in 2018 and 2019.
And here we have Fab Italia, which hopes to strike a chord with our local communities through the Italian language, cuisine and culture.
Every contingent prepares the costumes by themselves. So I design my own costumes by myself, which the idea is quite simple. I thought of men and women with the kind of colors representing Italy. The preparation of Chingay is quite demanding. We need to prepare our own costumes, be quite creative, also share some choreography, having some ideas, know about the music. So Chingay is a very important thing for me and also for all my friends, because we enjoy it a lot and sure we could go and do a common goal all together. And furthermore, being with all our work a small part of a bigger picture, or staying all together and share with our community.
To know more about Singapore, Fabrizio studied Singapore's history and culture to qualify as a tour guide.
Okay, these are my friends. We met today here. They're also tourist guides. We studied together for the course.
Fabrizio thinks that since he's going to live here for a long time, he should learn more about Singapore. After reading intensively and exploring many places, he discovered that Singapore has a rich history and heritage.
Campognan means to me, somehow it's like living back to in Italy for me, because there is a lot of nightlife. This is one of the best places for me to come because it's a very relaxed place. And I like just to walk around, to stroll around with no direction, but just to see people, to say hello to somebody I know. This is the way we used to live in Italy, so it makes me feel like I'm still back in my neighborhood in Rome.
Having left her home country for so many years, Ify inevitably misses home.
So what I miss about Italy, family, friends, and food will be my top 3. I realize now during this period that family is really, really important.
We've been here for 7 years. We had no plans to stay here for so long. And if we are still here, it means that we're feeling good and he's treating us very well.
I think Singapore is our home away from home. We have created our family of friends. You know, when you're a foreigner, you tend to bond with other foreigners and create your family. So we have our Singapore family. Of course, home is home, but after 7 years, I think we can already call this Singapore our home, yeah.
We didn't put salt yet. Yeah?
Fabrizio and his wife Joanne are preparing for a family gathering today.
So you do or I do? I do, huh? No?
庆幸的是我父母亲又很开通啊，所以当我介绍他给我的父母亲的时候，他们都 OK。
哎，我很开放的啦，看2个人说话就好了。
他很开朗啊，很开朗，很健谈啊。
For pasta, Joanne also loves Italian pasta. She also likes to cook it.
他很快就融入我们的家庭哦。
I like to live in Singapore because the country gives a lot of opportunities. I could do jobs that probably could never do in Italy. I feel Singapore as a second home to me. My recipe has always been to work here and to stay here 6 to 8 months and at least to go back to Italy after that period to recharge with the air from Italy and come back here ready for a new adventure. Furthermore, Joanne's family is here, so for sure the roots for us are both in Italy and in Singapore.